The world is filled with many beautiful and terrifying landmarks that draw crowds of people to enjoy their beauty. However, what may seem like a fun travel destination to some can quickly turn into an accident waiting to happen. There are wonderful places to visit and explore. Unfortunately, some not so welcoming locations can be very dangerous. The world has many dangerous and harmful places, but which are the most? Every country has at least one of these places. Here's a list of 20 most dangerous places in the world. Number 20. Manitoba Snake Colony from Canada. At one time, there were almost 70,000 red-sided garter snakes around Narcisse, Canada. However, bad weather and an unusually high number of snakes being killed while trying to cross the roads quickly cut down on the population size. At the beginning of the 2000s, there were not enough snakes to be safe. The Narcisse Snake Pits Wildlife Management Area was set up to bring back the animals that had been killed off. Under the roads, snake crossing tunnels were built, and snow guards were put up to direct the snakes and other animals into the tunnels, which led to the wildlife area. During peak season, new signs told drivers to slow down. With all of these steps taken, the number of snakes in the area started to grow again. The wildlife area is a popular place where people go to see how well the animals are doing. Each year, many snakes come to the porous limestone in the ground to hibernate in the cracks and tunnels that have formed over time. When the snow and ice melt in the spring, the sleeping serpents wake up and quickly start making babies in huge, crowded orgies in the grass outside their limestone sleeping holes. Even though it seems rude to stare at a bunch of snakes having sex, this is the best time to watch snakes. Before we begin, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 19. The Death Road in Bolivia. If you appreciate speed and thrill, you've heard about Bolivia's Death Road. The Inter-American Development Bank designated the Death Road the world's most dangerous route. How to ride a mountain bike down the Death Road may sound ominous, but biking is memorable and safe. After cycling its 62 miles, I can say it's a must for adventure sports and adrenaline lovers. La Cumbre is a 4,657-meter high location, 17 miles from La Paz. The Death Road drops 63 kilometers to Los Yungas, where Llolosa is 1,229 meters above sea level. La Cumbre and Llolosa are 3,428 meters apart. The descent by bike begins in La Cumbre. It's 4,657 meters above sea level and drops 32 kilometers at 50 to 80 kilometers per hour or more. After 32 kilometers, the route enters Camino de la Muerte and descends 31 kilometers to Llolosa, 1,229 meters above sea level. Due to the uneven and muddy road, the second section's average speed is 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. However, the panorama is more magnificent due to the deep precipices, dense vegetation, and precipitation. Yungas Road was the only link between La Paz and Yungas at the time. If you had to travel, you'd risk your life. In 2009, the Bolivian government built a modern highway with 2 lanes, new pavement, drainage systems, and guardrails. Today, thrill seekers and adrenaline junkies like you and me cycle on this path. Number 18. Nika Crystal Cave. The Nika Mine in Chihuahua has a 400-foot deep crystal grotto. This cave's walls are covered in crystal daggers, and its huge pillars exceed 36 feet. It sounds sci-fi, yet it's true. Due to its size, it's called Cave of the Crystals. 2 brothers drilled into it in 2002. It's an amazing, improbable discovery that made international news. The cave's heaviest crystals weighed 55 tons. Geology professors found that these giant crystals formed 600,000 years ago. The Chihuahua site is home to unique huge species and bacteria that cannot be found anywhere else on the planet. The entire world was astounded when the first pictures of the Nika Crystal Cave went viral because its enormous crystals measured up to 14 meters in length and 2 meters in thickness. The enormous crystals were located inside a very dangerous cave that no one could stand to be inside it for more than a few minutes. This amazing cavern is one of the few locations that may be described as the most beautiful place on on Earth and one step away from hell in the same sentence. It was only ever accessible from a tunnel within the Nica mine, which was the largest lead, zinc, and silver mine in Mexico and was managed in Chihuahua by industrious peoples. The tunnel and the cave are both completely submerged in water at this point. However, this may work out for the natural occurrences benefit in the long run. Number 17. Ilha de Queimada Grande. Brazil is home to Iguazu Falls in Luanquá Maranhenses National Park. Ilha da Queimada Grande, 90 miles off São Paulo's coast, seems magnificent at first. The island is inhabited by 2,000 to 4,000 golden lancehead vipers, one of the world's deadliest snakes. Local traditions tell of the horrific tragedies awaited those who strayed onto Snake Island. An unlucky fisherman came to the island in quest of bananas and was later found dead in his boat with snake bites. From 1909 to the 1920s, a few lighthouse keepers lived on the island. According to a local legend, the last lighthouse keeper and his family died when snakes entered through the windows. The island's high population of snakes evolved over thousands of years without human influence. Around 11,000 years ago, rising sea levels isolated Ilha de Queimada Grande from mainland Brazil, isolating the snakes, most likely Jararaca snakes, from their mainland counterparts. Snakes stranded on Ilha Queimada Grande liked ground predators, allowing them to multiply quickly. To find food, the snakes slithered upward and preyed on migratory birds. Snakes stalked their target, bite, then let the venom work before pursuing again. Ilha Queimada Grande, Prefeitura Municipal in Tanahem, has the world's highest concentration of venomous snakes. Number 16. Death Valley. Death Valley is a rain shadow desert, which means that adjacent mountain ranges drain moisture from entering weather systems and prevent rain from reaching the opposite side. It's a stunningly bleak national park on the eastern tip of California. With a height of 14,500 feet, the Sierra Nevada range is the tallest in the surrounding 48 states and is located 80 miles to the west. The rough Panamints, which rise to a height of 11,000 feet, are nearby. Any technology that can move water beyond those obstacles is an anomaly. The valley floor is depressed, reaching as low as 282 feet below sea level, exacerbating the area's dryness. Any rain that does get in tends to evaporate as it sinks to the depressed bottom. Nothing can stop the intense heat of summer. The official world record temperature is still 104 degrees, which a weather observer recorded in 1913. Even though some meteorologists question that measurement, Death Valley would still rank among the hottest places on Earth without it. The 134-foot-tall, gigantic thermometer in Baker, California was built in response to the previous record high temperature in Death Valley, which was 134 degrees Fahrenheit and was listed in the Guinness Book of World Records. The majority of the southwestern United States will enjoy exceptionally high temperatures. The Death Valley region is forecast to be over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, with possible highs of 121 degrees Fahrenheit on Monday and Tuesday and lows in the mid-90s. Number 15. Oymyakon. In eastern Siberia, the small village of Oymyakon is farther from the nearest city than it is from the Arctic Circle. A monument in the town square remembered the day in 1924 when the temperature dropped to a record 96 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. The coldest place on Earth where people live year-round is Oymyakon, north of the Sea of Okhotsk. Oymyakon is indeed cold. The statue of a bull made of concrete in the middle of the town marks where the coldest temperature ever measured in a place where people live. Ironically, the word for water that doesn't freeze in Russian is Oymyakon. In the 1920s, winter herders would bring their reindeer to a thermal spring there to drink. This was the start of the settlement. But everything is frozen today in Oymyakon. Because pipes freeze, most bathrooms are just outhouses with no running water. Since the ground freezes and few plants grow there, most people eat meat and fish, which they sometimes eat frozen. Because engines freeze so quickly, many cars are always running. As you walk down the street, your eyelashes and saliva will freeze into sharp little needles on your face. If you leave a bottle of vodka outside, it will even freeze. Number 14. Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is the oceanic trench with the deepest depth on the Earth. It also serves as the home to the two lowest points on Earth. The crescent-shaped trench is in the western Pacific, east of the Mariana Islands near Guam. There are many interesting things in the area around the trench. For example, vents spew out liquid sulfur and carbon dioxide, active mud volcanoes, and marine life adapted to pressures 1,000 times higher than that of sea level. The deepest part of the ocean is the Challenger Deep, at the southern end of the Mariana Trench, also sometimes called the Marianas Trench. From the surface, it's hard to tell how deep it goes. Challenger Deep was 35,876 feet. Other estimates from today differ by less than 1,000 feet. The Mariana Trench also serves as home to the second deepest spot in the ocean. The Sirena Deep is 35,462 feet deep and is located 124 miles east of the Challenger Deep. Mount Everest is 29,026 feet above sea level, so the deepest part of the Mariana Trench is 7,044 feet deeper than Everest is tall. The Mariana Trench is 1,580 miles long, which is longer than the Grand Canyon by more than 5 times, but the narrow trench is only 43 miles wide on average. Number 13. Mir Mine. The Mirny Mine is an open pit of diamond mine that may be found at Mirny, which is situated in the Sakha Republic within the Siberian area of eastern Russia. The mine is one of the largest excavated holes in the world, with a diameter of 1,200 meters and a depth of more than 525 meters. It's ranked 4th in the world for its depth. Open pit mining was first practiced in 1957 and ceased operations in 2001. It has been operating as an underground diamond mine since 2009. Mir Mine is one of the largest excavation holes in the world that humans created. It's a massive open-pit kimberlite diamond mine that may be found in what was formerly known as the Yakut Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, but is now known as Eastern Siberia. On June 13, 1955, Soviet geologists were participating in a larger-scale Amakinsky expedition to the Yakut ASSR when they made the discovery that led to the discovery of the diamond-rich deposit. The diameter of the mine is 1,200 meters, and its depth is greater than 525 meters. This places it as the 4th deepest mine of its sort in the world. This wave energy generator, which looks like a spine, is said to be less expensive than fossil fuels. Some people believe it can pull helicopters out of the sky, but there have not been any proven mishaps of this kind up to this point. Number 12. Skeleton Coast. The coast is known for its dangerous rocky outcroppings, continual breaking surf, and miles of dense and unforgiving marshes. Portuguese seafarers traveling the African shores of the Atlantic Ocean gave the area the name the Gates of Hell because even if they survived a shipwreck and made it to shore, facing the desert beyond meant nearly certain death. The greatest way to explore this stunningly magnificent scenery is during a flying safari in Namibia. Compared to earlier sailors, visitors today find the Skeleton Coast a little friendlier. Even now, shipwrecks still happen, with the Dunedin Star, a British supply ship, in 1942 being the most well-known. The wreckage of fatal ships lies damaged and decomposing in the sand. Massive whale bones, left in the sand where the hot sun bleaches them brilliant white and the hard environment preserves them for many years, are among the more horrific findings. They are leftovers from previous whaling expeditions. This coastline's austere beauty evokes both wonder and anxiety since it is both deserted and home to a living ecology that is all its own. The Skeleton Coast National Park encompasses 6,200 square miles of coastline, most of which can only be reached by aerial safari. The overwhelming desolation and contrast with the azure Atlantic are amazing when viewed from above. Number 11. Lake Karachay. Lake Karachay, in the Chelyabinsk area of southwest Russia and bordered by Kazakhstan, is regarded as the most polluted spot on Earth. Swimming in its waters would kill a person in less than 30 minutes. The route to the lake is also known as Karachay or Karachaj. It's north of Novogornya in eastern Russia and primarily made of concrete. It's a tiny lake that served as a disposal site for radioactive waste in the Mayak plutonium plant, one of the largest nuclear weapons sites operated by the Soviet Union between 1951 and 1953. It was the biggest lake in the natural world that could cool the reactors. The lake is now filled with concrete, serving as a permanent dry storage site for nuclear waste, at the surface meant to keep radioactive sediment away from the coast. The only method to legally enter the lake is by passing through a checkpoint. One of the deadliest bodies of water in the world is the lake, also known as Reservoir 9 or V9 water reservoir. You will die there after 30 minutes due to the pollution. It would expose you to a deadly dose of radiation, more than enough to kill you. Of 300 Roentgen, it was also impacted by a series of mishaps and catastrophes, which left the area heavily radioactively contaminated. In various northwestern Turkic languages, including Tatar, the name Karachay means black water or black creek. Number 10. Boiling Lake. Boiling Lake is a flooded fumarole from a volcano in the Valley of Desolation. It's a good example of what you'll find if you're brave enough to go there. The lake is 200 feet wide and its depth is unknown. It's surrounded by swirling clouds of mist and looks like a cauldron of quickly bubbling grayish-blue water heated by molten magma under the surface of the nearby rock. The only thing that compares to the beauty of Boiling Lake is the breathtaking views that surround it. These include unobstructed views of the ocean and nearby island of Martinique, as well as a landscape that hasn't changed in 200 million years because of erosion and volcanic forces. The Frying Pan Lake in New Zealand is bigger than the Boiling Lake. The Frying Pan Lake is the world's largest lake of its kind. The lake is usually boiling, but the temperature and level of the water have changed from time to time. Records show that the water level in the Boiling Lake has changed at least 8 times in 1876. One of the most recent lake level changes happened between December 2004 and April 2005. This is still going in the 21st century. During this time, the levels of water changed many times. Small lizards and few kinds of insects are some of the toughest animals on the planet and live nearby. Number 9. Lake Natron. We are all familiar with Medusa, the mythological monster whose lethal gaze turned humans to stone. That's a story, yet an African natural wonder is doing just that now. There is a peculiar lake in northern Tanzania that turns creatures into stone. In the East African Rift, Lake Natron is a lake that is extremely alkaline and salty. It's located in this difficult area's easternmost section. Tanzania is home to at least 4 alkaline lakes, although Lake Natron is the most famous. Although this lake is 22 kilometers broad, it is barely 3 meters deep. The southern Ewaso Ngiro River in Kenya provides the water for it. An unusual variety of lava with high sodium and potassium carbonates flowed into the lake during the Pleistocene epoch from the old Doinyo Lingai volcano's slopes. The water had to endure hundreds of years of harsh evaporation from the heat because there was no way for it to exit the lake, and it only sometimes rained. A very toxic brine was created by concentrating the trona, a natron, in the leftover water. The water's pH is over 12, its average alkalinity is 10.5, and its temperature fluctuates from 40 to 60 degrees Celsius. The lake's salinity has drawn cyanobacteria, salt-living microbes that depend on photosynthesis to survive. Cyanobacteria typically come in a variety of hues. Their hue gives Lake Natron's water a vivid crimson hue. Number 8. Devil's Pool. Devil's Pool is on the Zambian side of Victorian Falls. It is close to Livingstone Island and almost halfway across the waterfall, a mile wide. The only way to get there is on a guided boat cruise with Tongabezi Safaris. These boats leave from a dock on the Zambian side of the river, upstream of the falls. Kilimanjaro and Victoria Falls are tied for the title of the most amazing natural landmark in Africa. It's the largest waterfall in the whole world. The mile-wide Zambezi River crashes over a 105-meter deep cliff at the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe. It can send up a rainbow-colored spray of 500 meters high and flow up to 500,000 cubic meters per minute, which is why it's called Mosi a Tunya in the local language, smoke that thunders. Victoria Falls is a beautiful sight, no matter how you look. You can see the whole thing from an airplane or helicopter, the bottom of the gorge, the spray-covered Knife Edge Bridge, or any other place. But swimming in Devil's Pool is the most intense and breathtakingly immersive thing you can do. This 3-meter deep natural pool is perched right on the edge of a cliff, with only the thinnest rock lip between it and the rushing white water below. When the flow is too high and could be dangerous, which usually happens between January 1st and August, the pool is closed. Number 7. The Danakil Depression. One of the lowest and hottest places on Earth is the Danakil Depression, located in Ethiopia. In terms of geography, it's considered a portion of the African Rift, which can be traced from the African Rift lakes of Malawi and Tanganyika, all the way up to the Red Sea and into the Dead Sea is located in Jordan and Israel. Politically, it is considered a part of the Afar area, which has in the past been subject to violence perpetrated by separatists. Temperatures in this region routinely exceed 50 degrees Celsius, making it an ecologically harsh desert located below sea level. It's also the site of a volcano that contains one of the largest open pits of exposed magma anywhere in the world. Despite all this, some people choose to make their homes in the Danakil Depression, which is often considered one of the most inhospitable regions on the face of the planet Earth. Driving through the Danakil Depression is difficult for automobiles, especially once drivers leave the concrete roads behind. Not only are you heading off the beaten path, but the weather will be very severe. The blowing sand reduced visibility to nearly nothing, and we watched the thermostat in the car gradually soar to 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 6. Elephant's Foot, Chernobyl. Scientists discovered Elephant's Foot 8 months after Chernobyl. They approached a tube beneath the damaged No. 4 reactor and saw a giant stalagmite-like formation of black lava that had erupted from the reactor core. Because it resembled a mammoth's foot, the crew called Elephant's Foot one of the hardened masses. Radioactive lava could kill a person in 5 minutes, sensors found. Liquidators aimed a makeshift camera at the Elephant's Foot. Inspections determined it wasn't all nuclear fuel. The rest was molten concrete, sand, and core shielding. Corium was called for its reactor. Poor Elephant's Foot coughed and cracked. Chernobyl's explosion released radioactive plumes. Melting rods created chlorium. After extinguishing the nuclear fires, workers limited the core's invisible hazards. Temperature control rods were inserted late. Insertion into the hot core shattered and secured the rods. Heat and power production climbed until cooling water evaporated, producing pressure. The initial explosion blasted the 4 million-pound reactor top through the ceiling. Broken conduits spilled cooling water into the reactor, which turned to steam when it reached the hot fuel rods. A second, stronger explosion followed, blasting flames and debris. 6 months later, scientists found Elephant's Foot. So named it because it resembles an elephant's foot. Still dangerous, it emits heat and death. Safe to visit and work near the new sarcophagus. This radioactive corium lump reveals its destructive force. Number 5. Yorkshire River. People have seen the Strid at Bolton Abbey rise 5 feet in less than a minute. The water looked like it was in flood because of its height, speed, and roughness. Everything goes up a few feet in a few seconds. On the surface of the Strid, everything looks calm, but looks can be deceiving. The Strid is a small, seemingly innocent part of the river wharf near the old ruins of Bolton Priory in the North Yorkshire village of Bolton Abbey. The peaceful setting has been fooling people since the monastery, built in the 12th century, has been around. Even though the Strid is only about 2 meters wide in some places, it can be as deep as 2 double-decker buses in others. When it rains, the water level can rise very quickly, which can be scary. Tourists don't have any doubts about the risks. There are several warning signs and life rings. People have called it the stream that swallows people, and England's Killer Creek, but it doesn't look dangerous even when you get close to it. The danger comes from how quickly the river gets narrower as it flows into the Strid. Here, the water is deep, moves quickly, has strong currents, and is full of underwater overhangs, rocky outcrops, and caves. Number 4. Mount Sinabung. In August and September 2010, the first confirmed Holocene eruption happened at Mount Sinabung in North Sumatra, Indonesia. Common things are dome growth, block avalanches, multiple explosions with ash plumes, and pyroclastic flows. Since August 2020, when the eruption started, there have been ash plumes, pyroclastic flows, hundreds of block avalanches, and explosions. This report is based on information from the Pusat Volcanology, PVMBG, also known as CVGHM, the Center for Volcanology and Geological Hazard Mitigation, Magma Indonesia, and the Darwin Volcanic Ash Advisory Center. It covers explosions, ash plumes, and block avalanches from June to September 2021. During the reporting period, white gas and steam emissions were most common. In June, they rose 50 to 500 meters above the summit and drifted east, southeast, southwest, west, and northwest. On June 3, 2004, there was an eruption in 2004, but it could not be seen because of clouds. At 23:35 on June 6th, ash plumes and pyroclastic flows happened again, but the weather made it hard to see. A notice from the Darwin VAAC said that satellite images showed an ash plume rising 4.3 kilometers, 6.1 kilometers, 7.3 kilometers, and 9.1 kilometers, drifted west and west-southwest. During June 11th to 13th, block avalanches from the summit lava dome were sometimes recorded, but they couldn't be seen because of the weather. Through September, there were a few deep volcanic earthquakes. Number 3. Bermuda Triangle. Ships, planes, and people are said to have inexplicably vanished in the Bermuda Triangle, located in the western North Atlantic Ocean. Some make wild claims about extraterrestrials abducting people for scientific study, the impact of the long-lost continent of Atlantis, vortices that pull things into alternate realms, and other unproven theories as explanations for the unexplained disappearances. Some explanations, if not all, have a stronger scientific foundation. These include a geomagnetic line of flux interruptions and oceanic inflatulence, which releases methane gas from ocean sediments. Environmental factors might explain many, if not most, of the disappearances. The bulk of Atlantic hurricanes and tropical storms pass through the Bermuda Triangle, and before better weather forecasting, these dangerous storms claimed the lives of several ships. Additionally, the Gulf Stream can bring about abrupt, even dramatic shifts in the weather. The Caribbean Sea's numerous islands also result in many shallow water places, making ship navigation dangerous. A magnetic compass may occasionally point toward true north rather than magnetic north in the Bermuda Triangle, according to some evidence. Humans have always found the ocean to be a strange place, and it can be highly dangerous when there's a bad weather or poor navigation. Everywhere in the world, this is true. There's little indication that the Bermuda Triangle experiences more strange disappearances than any other sizable, well-traveled region. Number 2. Kawah Ijen Volcano. The Ijen volcano in East Java is home to the world's largest acidic volcanic crater lake. It is called Kawah Ijen and is blue. People know that the 950 by 600 meter active crater has a lot of sulfur, which is mined. Several active stratovolcanoes live in the 20-kilometer wide Ijen caldera, the largest caldera on Java. Ijen eruptions are very dangerous because there is a chance that the lake could dry up and cause dangerous lahars. The 20-kilometer wide Ijen caldera is home to a group of small stratovolcanoes that make up the Ijen volcano complex at the eastern end of Java. The North Caldera wall has a noticeable acute ridge, but other volcanoes after the caldera, like Gunung Merapi, which makes the 2,799 meter high peak of the Ijen complex, bury the caldera rim in other places. Just west of the Gunung Merapi is the famously active Kawah Ijen volcano, which has a turquoise-colored acid lake almost 1 kilometer wide in its crater. There is a zone from east to west at the southern ridge of the caldera, where most of the post-caldera cones are. Tourists are drawn to the waterfalls, hot springs, and beautiful volcanic landscape of the Ijen caldera, mostly covered with coffee plantations. Number 1. Half Dome. The Yosemite Valley's most recognizable feature is Half Dome. The only day trek in the park requires a permit because it's the only one and the most well-known. Only attempt to hike up Half Dome when the cables are in place and the favorable conditions. Avoid hiking Half Dome without the proper equipment. Even though this hike is well-liked, those unfamiliar with hiking or not in good physical conditions should avoid it. Beware of your limitations. Drink the recommended amount of water and plan appropriately. Numerous hikers on Half Dome need to be saved each year because they were unprepared. Please bring lots of water, as most times first aid is required when someone is dehydrated. For the Half Dome hike, you need at least 4 to 5 liters of water per person. If you need to collect more water while hiking, you should also bring some iodine tablets or a water bottle with filtration. Every day of the week, a permit is required to climb the Half Dome, and reservations are disturbed via lottery. If your permit bid was successful, you'd learn about it in the first few days of April. There will be a daily cap of 300 hikers on the Half Dome cables. There is a certain amount of first-come, first-served licenses available each day. Which of these destinations would you love to explore and why? Share in the comment section below.